Welcome, everybody, to another interview as we cheers to 10 years of 17 hats. We are coming together to share with you, our members and our ambassadors' journeys, to maybe just shine a little bit of light on what it takes to get to 10 years of business and chasing that success and finding that success as a solo business owner. Today, I am joined with Michele Johns. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's just dive right in there. Tell me a little bit about you. Let's start with that. Who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Awesome. I am located near Austin, Texas. I am a boudoir and headshot photographer. So I rock two brands in my 17 hats. It's been amazing. So I rebranded from Colorado almost 4 years ago, and I'm here loving the warm weather.
That's amazing. I mean, traveling from like starting your business in one state and then moving to another state, and it's almost like kind of restarting your business. How was that for you?
It was really challenging. It was absolutely challenging.
What was some of the hardest parts about that?
Well, you know how you have your ideal client and you tailor that communication to them. My audience was completely different here in Texas. So it was figuring out who my client was here and rebranding that identity in my flow, my workflow, my emails, my communications.
Yeah, because I mean, every state has their own vibe. You're right. Like now that I think about it, I moved from Texas to California. Like we all humans. We all have personalities. We all have the same common things, but every community even has its own vibe. And so, yeah, I guess that would be super challenging is go, okay, now I got to retailer this to a new clientele. That's really awesome. Did you feel like you have like a little bit of an upper leg because you've done it once before, or was it completely new to you?
No, I would say I had I had the upper hand a little bit. I had, almost 6 years in business. I was profitable. I was no longer trying to run a full-time job on top of business, but I did have to reach out for some coaching. I'm not going to say I did it all on my own. I needed some help. A lot of it was my own mindset, though. A lot of the blocks that I had were actually inside my head. There is a different.
Did you know I was going to get into mindset? I love mindset. And I think I've been asking everybody on this podcast, like, mindset. What is the mindset you've been through in the last 10 years? Because I think mindset is like, if you can get the right mindset, you're like 60% there. Share with me about that mindset. I love this.
So it was just my own blocks. In Colorado, I was attracting a lot of clientele that maybe lived on a farm or was a little bit more remote and was just interested in a different photography experience. And I made up that here, the busy, professional IT type people didn't necessarily want the same experience that I had to offer. And so it was just in my own head. And I'll be honest with you, I'm busier here than I ever was. So once I got my own way, I was able to actually take care and service more people.
It's amazing how we can kind of, as business owners, or I think as just humans too, we can kind of create these fears and project these fears onto what we're doing, right? So, oh, they need something different. Well, why do they need something different? Do they actually need something different? Or are we just scared to go after these people, right? And I think if we really dive into that ourselves, we see a lot of it's fear. And I think fear is normal. I'm not saying that we're scared all the time, but I mean, being in small business is challenging, and challenge for some people come out as fear. Some people take challenge and they love it. It comes out as adrenaline, and it comes out as fear is like something that pushes them forward. Everybody just really takes fear or anxiousness or anxiety, or they just deal with it in different ways. And sometimes it does become a block. How did you handle that? Because that it's tough. And I think everybody goes through this.
It was tough, and I felt like I was spinning in circles. Basically, she asked me questions like, why do you think they're different than you? And I would tell her, and she would say, well, do you do that? And I would say, well, yes. Well, do you like to shop there? Well, yes. Do you carry designer handbags? Well, yes. It just proved to me that I'm a little bit of everybody. We all are a little bit of a lot of things, if that makes sense. And I could relate to my new clientele just fine once I realized that I had it. And I just had to change a couple of things in my verbiage, update my workflows and emails. It was all good.
I agree with you in that we are multifaceted human beings, right? Like we're not black and white. We're not one way or the other. We are lots of different ways given who we're surrounded by, who we're talking to. We're little chameleons sometimes, right? Given the circumstances. It doesn't mean that our values change and our mindset changes and like all of that changes, but there are things that just adapt and adjust to the environment that surrounds us, which I think is absolutely amazing. But yeah, you have to give yourself a little bit of grace there and look at it in a more pragmatic way instead of an emotional way. And this is something I feel like we all struggle with in business. You have the emotion versus the strategy or, just being pragmatic. And the balance of the two can be difficult because sometimes we want to lead through emotion, which is tough.
Agree. I tackled small problems and big problems. I decided every day to wake up and say, what's not working? And today I'm going to fix that. And instead of having 10 things that weren't working, today I'm going to focus on this one. And I just fixed one at a time. There used to be a time when multitasking was great. And as a business owner, we do wear all the hats. We know
Wear
this.
all the hats.
But sometimes you just have to dive into that one problem and fix it.
We deal with this a lot in 17 Hats too, because all of us like to do a lot. I am obviously the leader of that. I like to have my hands on a lot of different things, but when you can get one thing out at a time and provide value immediately, right? You get one thing out, it's fixed, it's value. But if I'm trying to do 10 things at a time, it's taking me longer to get one thing out to provide value. Right. And so by you seem like you're busier, you seem like you're more productive, you seem like you're doing more by doing all of those 10 things. But the reality is by doing that, you're not providing value as often to for us, our members, but for solopreneurs, to your business, to your processes, to your clients, it's just so much more difficult. So I love that it's like it's almost like the 1% better rule, right? Like let's just get one step better every day. That's really amazing. Over these last 10 years, obviously moving was a big thing, starting over, refinding that ideal client, working through that process. What have been some other challenges you feel like you've overcome in business now that you've gotten past them and you can go, wow, I did that. And this is how I did it.
I would say in the beginning, thinking of automating everything, it seemed a little bit overwhelming, but I knew that automation was the way to go. I knew that I needed things to be triggered at certain points because I can't remember to send you your model release and your invoice and all of the things in that perfect timing. But also I have repeat clients and I want their second, third, fourth experience with me to be just as amazing as the first. So never want to drop the ball. So for me, it was about the roadmap of what's the beginning of working with me all the way through the end. How do I provide this amazing experience? And it did take me about a year, I'll be honest, to figure that out. But what I would do is I would say, okay, I'm going to send this email and I'm going to save it. And now that's part of the process. I heard this statistic years ago that if you do the same thing, I haven't done the math, but if you do the same thing every day for 2 minutes, after a year, you've spent 2 weeks doing it. I didn't want to spend weeks writing the same emails.
No, that's amazing. I would have to go like calculate that out because my brain doesn't work math like that. I love my Excel sheets that does the math for me, but that makes sense, right?
Yes. So anyway, I stopped doing the same things every day and I would write it once and then I would just tweak them. But that's how I got.
Templates are so important. I think people are so scared of automation in their own ways. Um, but the ability to automate, even if it's just emailing, using templates, right? Just like you said, not having to rewrite the same thing over and over again. That is a very simple automation that I feel like adds so much value to the business from time to your own sanity. Have you ever, like, I remember way back in the day when I was doing my own business, and even sometimes today, you're typing somebody and you're like, oh, what's that person's name again? Did I spell it right? Have to go back and have to look and have to make sure. And then you actually kind of built up the anxiety about getting the wrong person because you have too much stuff happening in your head. And there's like, I'm just writing an effing email. Like, this should not be hard, right? I should not be stressing this much about an email, but you get so much happening around you and so much chaos around you and so much pressure that your brain just doesn't think right every once in a while. So to be able to have the templates and the tokens in 17 hats, I don't know how often you use tokens, but to have the tokens, it's just like, oh, I don't have to think about any of that.
Exactly. Exactly. I love it.
Yeah, I mean the automation journey is a journey for sure. So that's definitely a great one. A little bit more about your business. I'm a big believer in that in order for the business to grow, you have to grow, right? So your business grows. I almost think that like you grow and then your business grows behind you. And I feel like it grows in parallel, right? Just a little step behind. But both of you, as you're growing as a business owner, your business is growing right there with you. How do you feel like you have grown as a business owner over the last 10 years? And was there any like major obstacles or major things that happened in your business that like helped you get there or made you get there?
Oh my gosh, yes. So the first part of that is I am not even recognizable as the same human,
I
let
love
alone
that. That is awesome.
just it. It's been so amazing in my life. My husband even told me just the other day how proud he is of me, just because we grow, like you said, it's parallel. So as the business has grown, like we talk to more people and we become more confident in ourselves, and it's really hard to be confident sometimes in ourselves and our businesses. But I was told once by a coach, reread your Google reviews, reread the love notes that you get from your clients, and do it often. Remind yourself how you impacted others, because it's not just, oh, I'm so good at this, but remind yourself of how you helped someone and reconnect with your why often.
I feel like every single person I have talked to, everybody brings up the service, right? We're service-driven businesses. That's the type of businesses that are on 17 hats. Every type of profession there. But the ones that show up, the people that show up to serve, not just make money, right? Because there's a huge difference. But when you show up to serve and you open your heart and you really want to just help people grow and people succeed. And I think so many people put kind of the money before the service, right? And I'm not saying that money's not important, because it 100% is. We're not doing nonprofits. We don't have hobbies. This is called a business for a reason. And I think you have to think pragmatically about money, right? And you have to be aware of the money and all the jazz, but you also just, gosh, you have to serve. Let's talk a little bit about money. I actually haven't dove into money with any of my conversations on these, which is interesting. I know so many people are just nervous about money and pricing and having to price and all of that jazz. Were there any roadblocks when it came to pricing and money that you had? And how did you help yourself get over that?
Oh man, that's yes, all of this. It comes back down to coaching, someone just telling me the words that I probably already knew, which was, you are not your client. What
I
you
love this. It's like one of my favorite phrases.
Yes, and I didn't really understand it, but finally I did, and when I did, it was just this right. But another tip that someone said to me once was, we're all walking around with $2,000 phones in our pockets, right? And we don't blink an eye at buying a cell phone, or every day buying our
Starbucks.
right, exactly. And so here's the thing that I've decided, and I say this frequently, is we all have our guilty pleasure. We all have the things we like to spend money on. And then I decided, maybe it's me today, right? Maybe it's my service today for someone that makes them feel amazing, and today I'm their luxury, and that's okay. So I just became okay with that.
That is a great way of putting that. I've never heard somebody put it in that way before. But yeah, you're right. And that maybe you are somebody splurged today, which is, I mean, and there's enough fish in the sea, right? Like we have a very populated world. There's enough fish in the sea. There's enough leads and money and clients and everything to out there to go around too. That's a really great way of looking at this. How has 17 Hats helped you over the course of your 10 years in business, moving, all the jazz? How'd you find 17 Hats? What attracted you to it? How is it helping you?
Okay, so 17 Hats honestly is the one tool that I have had this entire time of being in business. I will never not use 17 Hats as my CRM. I mean, it saves me so much time. It keeps me organized. I will tell you that, sorry, my brain is exploding.
You're fine.
All the reasons I love it. I thought I would have to hire a studio manager because I could not manage at the level. I had hit a ceiling with what I could do as a solo person. And when I learned automations and I learned how to do the workflows and I have them for different scenarios and I had the lead forms and everything fed into the next step, I no longer felt that I needed an office manager to manage my clients or my projects. So not only did I take away, sorry, but I no longer needed to hire an employee, but I was able to take on more work. I was able to service and be of service to more people and at a so even and superior, I believe, client experience to what I was doing before. Because I've been in business, I've done direct sales, I've done all the things prior to my photography business, but I have never been better than I am now in my business.
That's amazing.
Sounds cocky, but just
No, I mean, I think you can say that, right? You've earned that right. That is absolutely amazing to be able to feel that confident. Because I mean, confidence is something that small business owners really struggle with, right? Is especially starting off, to feel confident, to feel like you're the professional in their room, then to be able to, price yourself the way that you're actually making money, be able to go out and network, to automate all of those things. Business is a journey. I say it's a mountainous journey. It has the highest highs and it has the lowest lows, but it is a journey worth taking for sure if that is something you want to pursue. But it does take time, right? Not everything's a silver bullet. There's no magic key. It takes time, and I think confidence takes time. And I feel like everybody kind of wants to rush that a little bit. Like we all want it to be set up today. We want it to be making money today. We want 17 Hats account being functioning today. Like everything is about right now, today. It has to work today. But reality is that this is a journey that we're on. Talk to me just a little bit about that, about how this journey has progressed for you and how patience, I think is the right word, has played a role in success.
oh, it absolutely has. You had asked me earlier too about it made me think of COVID when my studio was shut down, right? And we couldn't work. And I took that opportunity instead of being depressed and not moving myself forward. I made it an opportunity to make sure everything was current and spoke to my values and I just reconnected with my why and I kind of took it down to ground level. Like a business is a house, right? And it cannot stand strong. People cannot come through the front door if that foundation is not solid. And so sometimes we just have to get back to basics. And I will tell you that when I name my emails at the first of the year, I rename the ones I'm currently using to that year so that if I did not rename it that current year, I know I'm no longer using it. I think that clutter is overwhelming. And I think that sometimes it's just really good to get back to basics, clean things up, and breathe. I know that sounds really silly, but there's so many things we have to do as business owners. And it's just about tackling it, like you said, with patience and take time. I do not take on more than 3 big tasks in any given day because
Yep.
it's not realistic.
Yeah.
So I have my big 3 rocks every day.
You're knowing your boundaries.
And I have to, right? And I will tell you that what I learned over the past 4 years of rebranding and rebuilding in a new state, because essentially starting over, is that I can't do it all in a day, like you said. So you have to just pick and choose what's not working and what's most important now, what's going to help move me the most forward, and sticking to that. I still get in my spins, but I just have to tell myself that I'm wasting time spinning. I'm not getting anything done.
Well, and I see people spin about the wrong things, right? Like, I love how it's like, what's actually going to move the business forward, right? Like, that's an important thing to think about when you start to get in a spin and you start to think about all these things that you need to do. It then becomes but is this actually going to move the business forward, right? And so I think it's such a good question to ask yourself when you're overwhelmed with task and figuring out, okay, these are things I need to do for my clients, and these are things that are going to move my business towards my vision or towards my goals. I also love that you're talking about like your why, like why you're getting into this, which I have my why is from my photography business that I had way back in the day to what I'm doing now. It's obviously super personal to me. Everybody has a personal why, so we're not. That's a whole nother episode and podcast and all the jazz going into that. But I think knowing why you're here, why you're serving, why you're doing what you're doing, and allowing that to ground you is so important.
It really is, because everything else is just secondary to that, you know? It just becomes about making money only. And that's, yes, money is great, but at the end of the day, if I'm trading time away from my family, I want to make sure that I'm doing it for the right reasons. I want to be remembered for the right things. I know that's a bit deeper.
This is a great conversation. I appreciate you so much for coming on and for joining me. My last question I have for you is, for somebody just coming into business, it's their first year, second year in business, what would you tell them so that they can hit the longevity in business that you've had?
This one tip, oof, that's tough. But I guess I would say ask for help. Don't try to do everything on your own because you don't know it all. So hire someone. If you don't want to do your books, hire a bookkeeper, but do what you do the best. Leave that for yourself. I would say get help.
I love this because about 3 people on interviews have given the same advice. So hopefully by the time they hear you do it, they will do it because it's such important advice that all of you are giving. And I think not enough people do that. So I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining me on this and for sharing your journey, sharing your wisdom. Congratulations to getting to 10 years. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and excited for the next 10 years, right? Where are we going after this? So thank you so much. If somebody wants to learn more about you or find you on social media, where do they go?
I am blackfeatherboudoir.com. Also on Facebook as the same. And then I'm roundrockheadshots.com.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And for everybody listening in, thanks for joining us as well. Until next time.